Shanda Bear here. And here's another one that's going to get a whole lot of weird real quick. This is one of those stories where it should have become a movie. It's just so bizarre. And this is the story of a murderer here in the state of New Hampshire. And his name was Coolidge. And the Coolidge case is interesting for a lot of reasons. Because this guy didn't just murder people. He had this fixation with the weather. And we'll get to that a little later. So, it was in the 60s. I believe it was 1964, somewhere around there. This girl, her name was Pamela Mason. And she put an advert in the window of a merchant's, a local merchant's window, that she wanted to do some babysitting. So this guy, Coolidge, contacts her. And basically, he takes off with her. Some people saw that, realized it. And he takes off with her. And she's essentially never seen again. Okay? And there was another girl missing at the time, but we're going to get to that in a different video. Because it's a different case, really. All right? Which leads to another case after that. But in this case, this guy Coolidge, so he used both a knife and a firearm. Okay, on this girl, and she was about 14 years old. He did whatever he did to her, and so they find the body, and they have an idea that it's him, this guy Coolidge, and they go talk to him, and he was a delivery guy. He actually worked for a lot of different places as a delivery person. He worked for Coca-Cola for a short while, and I don't remember exactly where he was when they arrested him, but he was a delivery driver at that time too. And they arrested him. So they got some search warrants to search his vehicles for various things, find out if they could find whatever. And they did. They certainly found a few weapons. All right. And I believe it was a firearm that they found, but the firearm had no serial numbers on it. Okay, and this will come up later in the other case with the other video. And essentially what happens is it's linked to both of these murders, but to this one in particular, it's linked to. Although as I recall, he stabbed her too. He cut her up too. In any event. She's murdered. They have the murder weapon and all of that. So they're going to court. He's pretty much guilty. He knows he's guilty. He's going to go inside. But there was a teeny tiny little problem. The search warrant wasn't made up properly. Rather than having a proper judge sign the search warrant, they had somebody else sign it. And at the time, it was it was done for emergency purposes. They wanted to clear something up very quickly. And that's why they did it. But now it was needed to use what they found as evidence in court. And they kind of realized they couldn't do it. And he could have gotten off. But in the long run, what happened was he cut a plea deal. But he cut a plea deal only for this murder. Pamela Mason murder. All right? And amazingly enough, he was also released years later. But I knew some of the prison guards, my uncle was one of them, who actually handled Coolidge while he was in prison. Now, one of the weird things about him, and you don't find this in a lot of the books, but it was something that they had to deal with, was during other than inclement weather, other than anything like that, he would be fine. He was a model prisoner. But during inclement weather, this guy would freak out. Especially during a blizzard. If there was a blizzard, this guy would go into a rage. They couldn't control him, really. He had psychotic episodes of some sort during inclement weather. And when there was going to be a blizzard, especially a blizzard, if there was going to be inclement weather, they actually had to handle him. They would move him out into different cells and stuff like that. Now, he was a model prisoner other than that, though, but his health deteriorated something fierce. I mean, he looked 100 years old. I don't even know if he made it to his 50s, but he looked like he was really, really old. I mean, he aged in prison. And so he suffered. And I'm glad he suffered. I mean, he was a murderer. It's just to point it out. That he was messed up, and they had to deal with him that way. He was released, yeah, that's the story of Coolidge, and I'm amazed they never made a movie about it. But you got to watch the next video, because I'm going to tell you about that, and it gets weird. So, if you like stories like this, well, like, comment, subscribe. Shanda Bear out.